don't want you guys to, just sit around here in the main roster and do nothing. I want to use your potential. So I split you off, and you go to NXT UK, just to go back with your old group, Ring Camp, together, and just start building NXT UK and start you guys as a brand, and then eventually you will split off and we'll feud with them. That was the first idea.
What's up, Bengal fans? It's your host, Joey Karni, and I want to thank you for clicking on this video. It was an amazing experience, and I can't wait for you to watch the full episode and enjoy it just as much as I did filming it. Now, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe down below to stay up to date with all the Angles activity right here on YouTube. Now enjoy the show.
Let's go, let's go!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Angle Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joey Karni, and with me today is someone who actually is very talked about right now in the world of professional wrestling. He's one of the most hardworking wrestlers that we have today. He's a former NXT Tag Team Champion, and you all know him as Alexander Wolfe from his time in WWE, but he is the Axel Tischer. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Thank you for taking the time to talk. I know, like I said, there's a lot of people trying to get a piece of you right now, so I appreciate you being able to come on here and talk.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And to kind of start things off, I guess we can talk about this whole last year that the world has gone through. And for you, it's been a little different because you've been traveling back and forth. So how has, I guess, the time in quarantine or in the pandemic really changed, or how has it affected your traveling schedule?
It has affected the traveling schedule a lot because I could not move back from the States to England and back and forth. And also I kind of stayed in Germany over the time because over the holidays from 2019 to 2020, I flew back and with my family and stayed a while in my hometown in Germany. And just couldn't come back to the States for a while because the travel restriction. We kind of settled down in Germany again. Just got us a nice little apartment and all that stuff. And then in the end, when they opened back up, I think it was September-ish, we had the chance to travel back from Germany to England, just quarantine for a week, and then get tested and go back to work in NXT UK. But I'm used to do kind of like a little bit more, just travel back and forth from the States and England, but that wasn't possible. But luckily, it wasn't that much affecting me, my schedule, because I only had NXT UK in that time, and I just flew out like once a month or something like that. So it was okay though.
And I've always wondered, what is the travel like? For example, if WWE were to say to you, okay, we need you on NXT this week, how far out would they contact you to be on that show? And what is the process of that traveling?
Depends. When you live in Orlando, they probably give you 24 hours, like the heads up on, hey, this is what we want to do on television. Sometimes you get a little bit more, sometimes kind of where you're going, but especially it's so hard to do that with COVID and getting tested, and you have to kind of figure out who's positive, who's negative. So in the time where WWE had that breakout, they had to kind of schedule a whole different show then, because the majority of the main actors being tested positive, even just asymptomatic till completely sick. So it's very hard, but like 24 hours ish. So I always got like on Mondays the creative for the day after. So you would have the chance kind of to think about some ideas, like think something as an input to the story, or just talk with the other guys. And with NXT UK, it's basically you travel to England, you have 1 week of the Performance Center schedule, and you kind of over that days you kind of get a little bit the heads up on, hey, this is what we want to do for the tapings, this is the plan, eventually we go towards that direction. So it's a little bit more like earlier than that, but also it's taped and not live like NXT in the United States.
And this past week, I mean, for you has probably been a whirlwind of a bunch of stuff happening. ending your time with WWE, you've had about a week now to really let that digest and really come to fully understand it. How are you feeling, and are you really at the point where you can fully digest it?
I wasn't mad or wasn't super angry. I wasn't sad when I got the message. I talked with the person on the telephone, and just I understand the decision from a business point aspect, but from like in like working aspect, I couldn't understand it, and it's kind of like for me a pandemic cut by a worker who's there for 6 years. Has done something not as big as I would like to have accomplished something, but on the other hand, just always like giving his best, his 100%, and like always just being there on time and just be professional. And then seeing that, or just have the feeling you get let go, in the way of like the contract will not be renewed, and you think about, okay, like first of all, what I have done. That they do not want to continue the investment, and then seeing kind of like, okay, but there's so many people who are not really have the potential like I have, but that's a business decision. It is what it is. And I mean, 6 years was a long time, and it kind of hit hard, but on the other side, I wasn't that much like flustered, because I know what I'm capable of, and I know I will be doing good, even like in the indies, or maybe in another promotion. Who knows? Time will tell. But now, just after 1 week, it's kind of I'm pretty happy. I'm very happy. I'm excited that I can move back to Germany. I'm excited that I can move back in my to my hometown. Having my friends back around me, having my family back around me. My son can grow up with grandparents. My wife is back as well, so she will see her family and like her friends as well. So it's really, really a positive thinking on my side. And even if it still a bit stings, I think that's human, that's normal.
Yeah.
But I have no animosity towards WWE, because again, I understand it from the business standpoint, and they have to do what they have to do. The machine rolls on, and hopefully it's a good decision on their part. So we'll see what comes.
And looking at the roster, I mean, you are one of the most well-rounded stars that they have, because you were able to perform on a high level with SAnitY. You were able to perform on a high level with Imperium. All across the board, you're able to adapt. So I think for a lot of fans and even the superstars around, it was one of those like head scratcher moments to see that happen, really. But the night before, which is kind of the weirdest part, you performed on NXT with them in the match with Killian Dane in just minutes, and it seemed odd, I guess, to me watching it, because it kind of seemed like they were going like with an injury angle or something like that, because the storyline building up was just, he was out the week before or something like that. So when that was presented to you, what did you think of having like that 2-minute match, and like what was your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that was, okay, that sucks, because 6 minutes, we had 6 minutes in total, got bumped down to 5 minutes, so 2-minute match was left. And because of everything, how it happened, I thought like, okay, that's more like an angle than an actual match. So I thought at that point, hey, it's just an angle, because the story will continue. So the story will continue. Now I get bumped out of Imperium. Now somehow I get back together with Killian, because we just teamed before on SAnitY. Maybe they want to do SAnitY 2.0, or maybe I just gone on a crazy rampage against Imperium now. Maybe I just try to pay back to Marcel and Fabian, and with that maybe I help out Killian to do something with that. However, but I was in the mood of like, okay, that's an angle. It will continue next week. So they, and it would be perfect for that. There's so much space like to continue the story. But in the end, I understand hey, 2 minutes for that. And then, let's kill this guy and get him off TV, which is totally fine.
Yeah. Because that storyline, I mean, it had been building for what seemed like, a couple months or so, where you had the backstage segments with Killian and Drake Maverick, and back over on NXT UK or even in NXT, the here and there with, Imperium members. So it kind of seemed like they were going in a direction where they were going to break you off and possibly put you with back with Killian, like you said, SAnitY 2.0, or just doing something completely different. Did you have like any insight as to like what they were kind of trying to go with, like leading up to this, or were you just going along with, with whatever they told you there?
The insight is that in spring 2020, the plan was to split me off from Imperium and bring back SAnitY. But then the pandemic hit and EY got released. So, and travel restriction just came up. So nobody could travel, nobody could do anything. And that then eventually like SAnitY could do 6-man tag team matches against Imperium, which would have been nice in that part, even if I wasn't that much keen on that, because I love being a part of Imperium because it's more me.
Yeah.
Even if I love the time in SAnitY and I really had some great achievement with that, I'm more like a pure wrestler than an actor.
Yeah.
And with that being said, Imperium was the perfect fitting for me. That was the plan. But and also in the beginning when I talked to Triple H about me going to NXT UK, because we just have been in, I think, main roster Montreal, Superstar Shakeup, blah blah blah, and nothing came out. And then I got the appearances for NXT UK, and I was asking Triple H, hey, what's that all about? And he told us, yeah, I don't want you guys to, just sit around here in the main roster and do nothing. I want to use your potential. So I split you off, and you go to NXT UK, just to go back with your old group, Ringkamp, together, and just start building NXT UK and start you guys as a brand, and then eventually you will split off and we'll feud with them. That was the first idea. Then after I heard about the plan with SAnitY in 2020, I thought okay, that's what you mean. Like you will split me off from the group to feud with them, and then with my old group together, because they totally dropped the ball on SAnitY at the main roster, and it was his creation in NXT, and it worked. And I think for him was a little bit, a bitter pill to swallow that they kind of dropped the ball with us. So I guess he wanted to bring back EY down to NXT because he was doing nothing in the main roster as well, and just with us getting together and just continue at the work we left when we left NXT, that we continue the work there. So would be sweet, but now just is kind of like, okay, let's do SAnitY 2.0. Probably not. What we do with him, we have nothing for him right now, so don't know what we can do. And eventually it was just a matter of time till they would have split me off from Imperium, because also my Imperium, because of things what happened, like it's easier to have a 3-person group instead of the 4-person group. It's always one head more you have to think about, and sometimes it turns into a total clusterfuck. So, and eventually I think it fits better when you have Walter, and side to side is Marcel and Fabian, and just having me again, it always felt like a little bit weird sometimes. The better picture is the 3 of them. So, but what they have for me, probably nothing, and I'm not that cheap. So they have to figure out, my contract came up, and they have to figure out what to do, and then the end say, hey, you know what, Kachibots are coming, so just let him go. We'll see. But again, that's the business, and we all signed the contract, and we all aware of it could happen sooner or later. Even I for myself, I was very comfortable, I'm not getting released, I'm good, because I have trust in myself, I know my capabilities, but in the end, just another one bites the dust.
And leading up to, I guess you can call it the release, leading up to that moment, did you have any thoughts that maybe, like you just said, you were comfortable, not being released? Was there any doubt in your mind that maybe that could happen, seeing all these people, all these budget cuts, these large groups of people, either with new contracts or contracts ending soon, that they were letting go?
I haven't heard about any cuts before. Even I was asking on the phone, hey, are you guys cool with spreading the word? And he says, yeah, because one guy got released and he's probably all over Twitter right now. So, so I didn't know about that people got released. And in the end, like, you know, it is what it is, and I don't care.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. I'm not big on I want to know who gets released and blah blah blah, because you know it sucks for people, especially for people who need to figure out what comes next. I'm fortunate enough that I learned a lot in those 6 years, which I can use as tools to stay successful. And also, I was a pro wrestler before I signed with WWE, and I was successful in Germany as well. So I'm not worried about that stuff, but it sucks for people who just started, just came out of a different sport and now have to kind of figure it out and just, you know, maybe go back to whatever, their old sport, or I don't know. So, um, yeah, what can I say? It's a bad timing for everybody, you know.
Yeah.
But I was fully surprised, but I kind of had the feeling of it because it's pretty weird. And the reason was, I tried to kind of figure out what the plan is for the next weeks.
Yeah.
And I did not really got a hold of somebody, and they probably knew it because what I had heard was it was already decided 3 weeks before, but they kind of like stalled back, and it just waited 3 more weeks eventually till something happened. I don't know, but I hear like the firings, the let goes should has happened 3 weeks ago. So maybe they knew it before. I don't know who knew it, and even if I could tell, I don't know if it's the truth.
Yeah.
But in the end, it doesn't matter. It's totally not a matter at all.
And to kind of clarify for all the fans listening and watching, you technically weren't released by WWE. If you can just like explain kind of like what it was that your contract was coming up and they chose to not renew it, because people think, oh, release, oh, it's like wish you the best in your future endeavors, blah blah blah.
Yeah, that's again doesn't matter. So technically, I'm not released, and that's what they told me on the phone. The contract is up on June 15th. We just simply will not renew you. So your contract will run out. There's also the collaboration with WWE. So on June 16th, I'm a free agent. So I have no non-compete clause or anything. Basically, those 4 weeks now or 3 weeks now is my non-compete clause, and then I'm free to go.
Wow. And I was reading also that WWE, I guess, like they took care of you in that sense where they gave you the rest of your salary up front. And I mean, no harsh things there. I mean,
no, not at all. And again, I told it in other podcasts as well. Like a lot of people, they always hate on WWE for mistreating their talents or just, you know, the firings and everything. But people need to understand, like, if you work for a big corporation, that's what it is. You know, you can come up the highest employer of the month, you know, making so much money, and then the next day you get fired. It's possible. But WWE always took care of me and always takes care of the talents. The travel agency is very kind, and it's like all like the stuff around. Like people always speak about Vince McMahon and all like the other guys, but like the true heroes of this company are like the men and women who work their asses off to take care of the talents, take care of the staff, and from wrestler to referee to the guy who set up the lights and everything. So they took care of me. They offered me that they want to pay me out in full, or I could still get the weekly salary. And they also told me, or just already paid for it. So they say, hey, because you're international talent, you have to fly back home because my visa will expire. So we'll pay the flight home. And you know, they don't have to do this. You can say, of course, they have to do this because it's $1 million company, but in the end, they don't. They just can say, hey, you're fired, and you know, fuck you. So, but they haven't done that. And they're very professional. Again, it's a business. You have to be professional in the business. I was always professional to them, and they are always professional to me.
That's the way to do it. I mean, it's the right way to do it, and it keeps the relationship flowing, even if you're not there. You know, so it's all around good business.
If you take things in that wrestling business personal, you're full. That's the thing. You should not. Of course, sometimes it gets personal, but in the end, it's because the person wants to do it. And I know from WWE side, they're not interested in making things personal. And you know, there's no need to burn bridges.
Of course.
Not in that situation, not in any relationship. Even if somebody's screwing you over, it's not your fault. And in the end, there's no need to be negative or just be pissed something if nothing major happened. Of course, I get it. If something happens and it's a mistreatment and it's unprofessional environment, everything, then of course you be pissed. But in that case, it's just a business decision, so I'm not pissed.
Yeah, and that's all the questions I had about the release. I know it gets kind of repetitive there. Everyone's asking the same questions. But I do have some questions regarding your time with Imperium, because to me, this is, NXT UK is built around the group. But there's a lot of talk about how Walter didn't want to move to the US, all this stuff you've already heard already. Do you think if that wasn't the case, that Imperium would be the biggest thing in wrestling if they were on Raw and SmackDown and the main roster?
Depends. Thinking about it, no, because it's an awesome act, and it's very, very unique because it's very authentic from all, like, let's say the four of us. There are the three of them. But I think in the end, it would fail miserably in the main roster. Not for Walter though. I think he will be fine because he's amazing, and he's definitely a cash cow for WWE, and they know that, and he probably too. But I believe it's now better than I'm not anymore in the group, because again, it's easier to think about three heads than four heads. And also, I'm not sure. I would say I would love to see those guys be successful on the main roster, and I would love to see those guys just running through the whole divisions, tag team division and title divisions, and just conquer everything and becoming like freaking millionaires in years and everything. So I wish them all the best, but I'm not sure about it, because that 1 year of main roster experience just taught me a lot, and that was first. No matter what they do, or no matter what they tell you in the beginning, is not a guarantee. Nothing is guaranteed in that business, especially not if somebody tells you, hey, they want to do something with you and you will be on every show. Yeah, 3 months later, you're at home, and then when you're at work, you're in catering. So it is what it is. But I believe, first of all, tag team wrestling is not the best part of WWE, and NXT is way more better, but up there in the main roster, Raw and SmackDown, it's not a secret, right? I can kind of see it, and a lot of news report about that.
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest points of like critique WWE gets, that they not really care about tag team wrestling. And then the other one is basically it's just a matter of time till they maybe split the group completely. You know what I mean? So it's just go ahead with Walter, or who knows, or maybe Fabian or Marcel. They kind of like have like an like better picture in that, and it's a good question, and as you can tell, I have to think about it right now. But I believe, like from my feeling right now, NXT should stay. Imperium should stay in NXT.
Yeah.
And I mean, if the time is right, and it's always a matter of time as well. If the time is right and the money is good, why not go into the main roster? But also, there's the problem of what you said before, that in a lot of interviews, what means problem? It's not a problem, but in a lot of interviews that Walter said he is not keen on moving to the States. So in that case, it's his decision, you know what I mean? I totally respect that, and especially, he's in charge of that. And, they could say, okay, you don't move to the US, so we kind of, let you go.
Yeah.
All the other promotions will kick a door in.
It keeps him a hot commodity.
They have no, pardon?
It keeps him a hot commodity, being able to
Yeah, and that's the thing, and he's in a position where he can demand things, and that makes it for him easier. It makes it more complicated for the company. But I think in that case, Triple H will be kind of like, okay, he stays in NXT, so I don't mind this, So basically, he's good then with this decision. If really Vince McMahon wants to have a main roster, you will have to spend a lot of money, I guess, because I believe that's maybe the only reason why he would move.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion, right? So it's not written in stone. It's just me talking BS.
Of course, of course. And I was looking through the rosters, I mean, all across WWE. And I think you're one of a very few, if not few, the only one who's been a part of the main roster, NXT and NXT UK. And that's actually really cool to see that you've been a part of all three rosters. Yeah. In your opinion, what is the biggest difference between those three?
The difference between main roster, SmackDown, that's the only experience I had, wasn't on Raw. So just SmackDown was a bigger production than NXT. And what I heard from other co-workers, even SmackDown was a smaller production than Monday Night Raw, because, you know, Monday Night Raw, 3 hours of live television versus 2 hours of live television. So like staff was very limited, and like in NXT, you have like few guys can set up things. You have a few writers. You have one head writer. You have like the other guys who kind of like be in the production and just producing matches, all like the coaches and everything. So it's a smaller and, in my opinion, more efficient team. And in my opinion, NXT is the better product to watch. Up there in SmackDown, it was sometimes too much, too many people, too many heads, too many words, blah 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 blah. Everything gets saturated, too much. Sometimes too much talking, you know, and just do it. But I understand it. It's a live television production from a television who paid $1 billion for a contract. So of course everybody's running around without their hats, right? And then you have to satisfy the boss as well, because he made a deal with a big company to make a lot of money for his company. And if you don't work in his pace, in his way, you have to go, right? And nobody wants to lose their jobs. So from the production standpoint, it was huge. And then also when NXT went live on the USA Network, the production was a little bit more. And also you had to be a little bit more keen on time, because it's not anymore taped. You cannot, you know, do like the little, okay, let's skip a minute out. You cannot edit stuff out.
Yeah.
But you have to be on time. And when you wrestle TV wrestling, like live television wrestling, you cannot go over, because, you know, if you can go over if matches before leave your time and you are the main event, but you have to protect the main event, that the main event has enough time till they go off. So if you with a second match, you cannot go over for 1 or 2 minutes. Vice versa, you better on, like, you know, going off a minute earlier or 30 seconds, just to leave that space for later if somebody goes over. So it's really strict on time, and you have to hit the time. Otherwise, you're not able to work live television, and this could be a kiss of death. On the other side, NXT UK is way smaller. It's kind of like more like an independent wrestling promotion, which is coded by the WWE, but like all people who are under contract or have been under contract, they had worked on the European or on the British independent scene.
Yeah.
So everybody was a wrestler in the first place. There was no former NFL player who just got into wrestling and then comes out on television and does not know what to do, kind of. So everybody knew what they're doing. The only thing what a lot of people did was kind of like getting them used to the WWE style of wrestling. Yep. There's a camera, you have to work on that camera. We do a production. If you know, all like the do's and don'ts of WWE, and especially in the, you know, in their product picture. So, but also it's way smaller than NXT in the US, but in that time the brand just grew and grew and grew. Like you had a lot of like great performers. They brought up the whole brand of NXT UK. So now they are in the BT Sports studio. Now they have BT Sport as a channel, and they broadcast NXT UK in the United Kingdom. So that's a big step for not only WWE, also for NXT UK.
Of course. And We kind of touched on SAnitY a little bit here and there, and I'm curious to know when you were first approached with the idea of, okay, we're going to create this group SAnitY, EY, Nikki Cross, everybody involved. What was the initial idea that they pitched to you? Like, what was their idea of what it was supposed to be?
The first idea was, hey, there's something coming, it's very special, and they want a group of guys, and you are one of the guys. And it's something what Triple H planned for years, and he wanted to have the right guys for it. And now he thinks he has a group together. And then they put us together with EY. They is WWE, and us is Sawyer Fulton, myself. And they, hey, this is Eric Young, blah blah blah. He will be joining the company, and he will be with you and the group, and blah blah blah. And then they told us, hey, Smoking Aces, the movie with Ben Affleck and everything. And in that movie, you have a group of like brothers. They've been kind of hellraisers, like some neo-Nazi punk guys. You always like, take a bullet for punching somebody in the face-ish. And they are kind of like mercenary assassins, but they never just do it very quiet and clean. They kind of like have to shoot the entire magazine into the guy just to really like rip him apart. So, killing completed, but otherwise we burn the shop down, we shoot everybody, and we go out, just probably lose a finger, but hey,
Chaos.
who cares? So kind of that. So they gave us the direction for that, and then we had to figure out like how to kind of like make it our own.
Yeah.
And also with like make it our own without just or with doing what we get told, without sacrificing the idea of what the boss had.
Of course. And, speaking of SAnitY, in your opinion, what do you think was the reason for why it didn't succeed? In general, I guess you can say the main roster or whatever, but why it was initially disbanded?
I think it has something to do with the different products. So NXT is more like rock and roll, and the main roster is more like hip hop or R&B or pop culture, like something, and you can tell the difference. Like when you hear NXT loud music, it's always something like Slipknot or whatever, heavy guitars. And also it's more influenced by a Motorhead loving and living guy like Triple H. He's that rock and roll meathead who likes to lift weights and listen to Motorhead and just does this on the entrance where so it's that. Right. So, and it's more like in the smaller things, because hip hop in the States, where hip hop is more successful than heavy metal or rock.
Yeah.
So, and so because I think it's more like marketable, because not everybody can listen to like heavy screaming music, but everybody can kind of listen to the beat, my opinion. And I think even time is very important, because when we came up, they told us, yeah, Vince wants to work with you guys so bad. He has such a great ideas and blah, blah, blah. And we also had ideas which we pitched, and it felt good. And, we had to trust in the whole system and the whole product and the whole process. And then they delayed everything. They delayed the debut. They delayed the first match. They make us job in the first match, and then we are off television for another some weeks, and then we debuted again, and blah blah blah. And I believe probably something which Vince McMahon didn't like. And if he didn't like something, you probably have just one chance, and after you just stay there, and just maybe something else comes up, or probably it's like the time, because a lot of times in this business, you have to be at the right place at the right time. And I think at the beginning, they probably had some good ideas. I think the vast majority of ideas we had wasn't good for a PG product. Even it was nothing like really crazy or bad, but we had ideas like just, destroy stuff and burn something down, and just like directly like anarchy, riot stuff. We had ideas in the way of like that. We told them, hey, we do not need to wrestle with our character. Just let us come in and just ruin some shit, and next week there you have like some security guys that want to stop us. Let us like whatever, mess them up. Let us like fuck those guys up. And next week, this time you have like some police guys there, and we get in an altercation, and then somebody starts the first punch and it starts getting nuts. The next week we have riot police, and now we throw shit at those guys, and they have to get the shields up. stuff like this. But also, it's probably nothing good for PG product, because now if people like us because those guys are cool heels, they maybe want to do it in school or whatever, because kids are watching as well. So I don't know if that was maybe the point, but I guess if we had started right away with a bang, it could be possible that we are still kind of present there. But because it got delayed and delayed and delayed, it maybe got shoved down, and then it's like, now it's not the time for that. Because sometimes you have an idea which is shit, but 2 months later, it's the best idea ever, So I think it's that.
They did something along those lines, like with Retribution. They brought him in. They were burning stuff outside. They were doing all this stuff.
That was a great deja vu.
And then it just
they dropped the ball with that as well, because again, that's all the stuff we pitched.
Yeah.
Probably not like smashing a window, but just causing chaos, because that was the gimmick of whole SAnitY, controlled chaos, controlled by us. And it's also when you start a fight, you are more in control, because the other guy is not aware of, okay, now is the fighting time. And also with chaos and with the riot, when you start that riot, you know what you do.
Yeah. And
the
I think
other one
also,
on the other side has to see, oh my God, what's happening right now? So he has to check the situation first, but you're in total control. That's the controlled chaos gimmick. And that's what we had in mind. Like, when you worried about us doing something, you cannot worried about yourself again, and then you forget the defense or whatever. So, and that being said, like with Retribution, it was a feedback, a flashback, not a feedback. It was a flashback, because we kind of pitched ideas like this, and now they had the chance to do it, maybe because of the pandemic, but they could have done so much more, and then they kind of like came out with that, and what they're doing right now. It's not cool for the guys, because I guess they kind of been excited about it, and then after they felt something like, it's going nowhere. So in the end, hopefully everybody's fine and just still like around, because that sucks, and that hits on your positivity, and that hits on your creativity, because you kind of feel you feel powerless, and that's the thing. You don't know where it's going, and you have no control about this, and you feel helpless, and it sucks.
And even along those lines of like we're discussing why SAnitY didn't work, I think from my perspective, from a fan's perspective, not having Nikki Cross there as well, I think was a huge loss too, because everyone knows this group as a 4-person group, and Nikki Cross was a very charismatic part of that group. And if you were to bring her to SmackDown, have her be in the women's division, portraying SAnitY, making it grow there. That would have helped really brand or SAnitY on SmackDown. I think not having her is just a huge.
Yeah, that was the point. What totally sucked in the progress of, hey, you guys get called up to the main roster, but just 3 of you guys, Nikki stays here. That sucked for real. But it was a decision, because at that time they needed somebody who kind of like elevated the NXT women's division, that part, because they lost Asuka, they lost Amber in that part, and they had to build up new, so they cannot sacrifice everybody, because they have done that before, and then they kind of struggled a little bit to bring that back up. And you could, even like when Nikki got the call up, you could have Unite Us again. We had this once entrance in Manchester, England, where we came out and cut off Becky Lynch's promo, where we showed up, and then in the end Nikki came out and just had the open challenge accepted by Becky. So that was the first thing, and that was even like that. I think it was Tyson Kidd in the meeting, like in the production, he said, you guys know they're been with the SAnitY guys before, there's just been 4 of them, so why not doing this? And then, what, really? And you think, okay, nobody cares about what NXT does. In that being said, because it's a different world, but it's the same company. But anyway, it was kind of like, okay, maybe they bring us back together. So we have her back, so we could like do here and do that, and maybe we have like 3 guys with 1 girl who's doing nothing, bring them together, have them being babyface. Let us work on a program. Let us bring that together. But in the end, it's two hours of television, live television, where you have maybe half an hour of commercial breaks. So you have to figure out what can fit in those, let's say, 1 hour and a half, like and a lot of times it wasn't possible to get TV, to get airtime, to get TV time. So and then we also had the idea, because we knew or we know WWE is huge on internet, all like social media stuff and everything. And we told them, let us do something online. Let us kind of like take over the channels, or let us like whatever, like mess with that, and have a small like online just to do things or attack people, which leads into getting some TV time. So as you can hear, we were constantly working and pitching, and not just in there with their, do nothing. And yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of early to tell, I know, but there is so much opportunity outside of WWE, and that is exciting, not only for you but for your fans as well. At the moment, is there any interest, do you think, maybe for like an AEW or Impact, Ring of Honor? Like, did anything come to mind when you
from my side or from their side?
I guess from both, really.
Okay. So nothing happens now.
Yeah.
And I'm not really waiting on it, because I'm realistic enough that first of all, I have to go back to Germany because of visa.
Yeah.
That's the first part. Second of all, I believe that everybody's kind of like stuck right now with talents. When you look at the AEW roster, they have so many people signed right now, and so many amazing people of them like are under contract. So do they need me? We'll see. The same with RH. And by the way, you're the first guy who naming RH, because for the other guys it doesn't exist anymore, I guess. No, but with RH, I think the same. They are like packed as well. And also it's a big thing with right now with like still the pandemic. I'm now in Florida. Florida is kind of, it's fine. Nothing happened here.
Yeah.
So which is great in my opinion. But for other states it's different with like restriction, and also like the travel restriction isn't lifted. So it's still hard to have, for example, guys from Europe come over to the States without quarantine stuff and whatever. So it's always hard for promotions to have like international talents. And even if I'm still in the States, I'm an international talent because I'm from Germany and I have a German passport. I don't have a US passport or other passport. I have a German passport, and I have to leave 1 month after my contract is running out.
Yeah.
So I'm open for everything. I'm open for every opportunity that comes to my head, and I would love to work for another big company. Yeah. I would love to work for WWE as well, and that's just take not never, because that would be stupid. But for me, it's the thing. First, I have to kind of like settle down back in Germany and see where my chances are. And there's a wrestling scene in Germany who I would like to go again and perform there, and just, spread out my 6 years of WWE experience and make that market a better place. And right around the corner, there's UK, which has also a big indie market with a lot of free agent talents, let's call it that, unsigned talents. And there's a lot of opportunity for me to catch. And I think, or I believe, I don't need to be signed by a big company. It would be great. It would be awesome. But I would love to work independent promotions a little bit, just see what it goes. Not every independent promotion, like the independent promotion who is professional, who is awesome to work. So I will choose from that part. And also I would love to travel. I would love to travel again to Japan. I would love to travel again in like the majority of all the European countries, because there's a lot of countries in Europe, and there are a lot of wrestling promotion in each country. Yeah. So, just pick up the raisins and just have fun with it and just make the most out of it. Also, make my brand bigger. Yeah. I had the chance with 6 years of WWE to become a successful brand, and I want to continue with the success of being like a valuable brand for every wrestling promotion.
When I first, was writing this question to ask you what kind of, what company you would think would come to mind, I immediately thought of Impact, just because Madman Fulton Sawyer's there, and there's so much like history there, and also there's such great tag teams, individual superstars. Impact was the first place that came to mind. So be able to have that story with Fulton there, that would be awesome to see too.
Yeah, again, like it doesn't matter which promotion. I would be interested if the offer is good and is the working environment is amazing. And Impact is one of the places where a lot of guys I know like say it's awesome to work there. So yeah, why not? But yeah, Sawyer's there. I'm here and there sometimes texting with him. I'm still in contact with EY, of course.
Yeah,
so yeah, why not?
Yeah, that would be awesome to see. And kind of like I said, it's a breath of fresh air to to have the chance to really do what you want now. And there's so much opportunity. Is there anyone outside of WWE that you would consider that you're eager to work with? I should say, any superstar that you're looking that would be like, oh, that's someone I want to get in the ring with.
That's a good question, though. Haven't thought about it, and it's hard to answer right now because there's so many great talents outside and so many interesting folks I haven't worked with. So yeah, we'll see. I cannot answer that question right now because I'm aware about the other wrestling products because I want to have my eyes and ears kind of everywhere. But shame on me, I haven't watched a full wrestling show since maybe a year. So the last full wrestling show I've watched was the first day of WrestleMania and probably an NXT takeover. But because it was WrestleMania and I really wanted to see Claudio against Cesaro against Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, takeover, because takeover is always great. So, but like otherwise I couldn't be bothered with watching wrestling. Maybe a match, maybe a part of a match or something, but
yeah,
I try to always keep my private life also like a little bit sacred for not getting brain fried by work, and also just to have enough time for family, because sometimes you have to switch the cell phone off and just just give zero fucks about everything else than your family.
It's the way to do it. Now, one final question here, and we're kind of summed up your 6 years with WWE. Do you have a favorite like time during your WWE run that you can say that is the most significant for you?
Oh, I would, yeah. I would say the time where I was in SAnitY and we won the titles leading up to eventually the War Games match.
War Games, an excellent one.
So, and War Games was such a great experience and I loved it. Even if I bled like crazy. So that was even better than and of course like winning the titles. So from that part till, because it felt something special. You had achieved something and then you have the chance to work up to that point of first walk-in match in history. We do the NXT and I'm a part of that.
Yeah.
And leading up from that to this. So and then the other part was the first month with Imperium, where we kind of like we started and then we continued till the feud Walter had with Tyler Bate for NXT TakeOver Cardiff.
Another excellent one.
And like the entire Imperium time, even like the entire SAnitY time. The first start with SAnitY was special, where Sawyer was still a part of it. Even it was a little bit frustrating because we had to, just adjust and adapt and blah, 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 everything. Because I'm not used to be a brawler. I used to be an all-around guy, but the majority of my wrestling style is based on wrestling.
Yeah.
And then, but as soon as we got it and we picked up some steam, it was always fun. And same with Imperium. As soon as you get something, with Imperium was easier because it's more authentic and it was like getting back in what I'm used to be.
Yeah.
But with SAnitY was like, okay, we have to adapt. And then when the ball was rolling, it was easy to adapt. So it's like those two for real. The beginning wasn't too much fun. It was a lot of like BS, a lot of like stupid
trial and error. Yeah.
Yeah, like you start somewhere else, you have to feel in, and then you feel like, okay, I know how wrestling works, but like how they kind of sometimes handle things, and even like some talents being like straight up assholes, not towards to me because I don't care, but a lot of things just being right in that part, and I hated the first year just not being there and making the money, but just have to kind of like suffer through this bullshit to make my dream come true. So, but in the end, it all was worth it, and another experience which I could collect and just laugh about it now.
And for all the fans listening and watching, where could they go to follow you or to find more of Axel Tischer?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter, and that's it. On Instagram is unfortunately still under the WWE Wolfe, because I have no idea how to change that handle right now. They say I have to contact the support, but
yeah,
I don't know where the support is because nobody works there. So, but on Twitter is at Axman3016. And yeah, everything what's new, everything what's up to date. Sooner or later, there will be some links in for merchandise. I have a Cameo account for personal messages, and yeah. So when you follow me on Twitter, you will get the news, what's all about me. And yeah, you can follow me. You can buy a cool shirt, or use the Cameo, whatever you want to do. So feel free, and yeah, thank you to everybody for their support.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for your time to talk and really open up and talk about everything that's going on and what you've been through in your 6 years of WWE. But I'm also excited for what's to come for you because, being a professional wrestler, there are ups and downs. And I think this time that's coming for you is going to be a really high rise. And I'm excited to be along the ride and see what happens.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be in touch. And just again, thank you for your time.
Cool. Thank you very much for having me.
And before you go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below to stay up to date with the next big interview right here on the Angle Podcast.